I didn't think much of it when Lila first brought up the idea of joining a gym. She'd been talking about getting in shape for months, so when she finally took the plunge and signed up, I was happy for her. Good for you, I told her. Just don't turn into one of those fitness-obsessed people who live on kale and protein shakes. She laughed. Relax, I'm just doing this for myself. And that was Lila, always independent, always doing things her own way. If getting fit made her feel better about herself, who was I to question it? But over time, things started shifting in ways I couldn't ignore. What started as a casual workout routine turned into something much more intense. A couple of gym visits a week became a daily ritual. Then, before I knew it, she was going twice a day. And when she was home, she wasn't really there. Evenings that used to be spent together, talking about our day or watching our favorite shows, were different. I tried to start a conversation, but she was always distracted, either glued to her phone, texting someone, or watching fitness videos. I remember one night I finally said something. You know, we don't really spend time together anymore, I mentioned as we sat on the couch. Lila barely looked up from her phone. What do you mean? We're hanging out right now. I gestured toward the screen. You've been staring at that thing for the past hour. She sighed and put the phone down. I'm just looking up some strength training stuff. Even says I should start focusing on muscle building instead of just cardio. There it was again. Ethan. At first, he was just a casual mention. Ethan says my squat form is getting better. Ethan thinks I should eat more protein. Ethan showed me a trick for muscle recovery. But as time passed, his name started coming up all the time. And then, little changes started happening. Lila's wardrobe shifted, not just at the gym, but in general. Tighter leggings, more fitted tops. She even started wearing makeup to the gym, something she never used to do. I mean, who puts on lipstick and eyeliner just to work out? Then came the girls' nights. Lila had always had a couple of close friends, but suddenly, she was going out constantly. Coming home late, sometimes after midnight, smelling like perfume, and something else I couldn't quite put my finger on. One night, I finally asked, how come you've been going out so much lately? I kept my tone light casual. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Noah, can I not have a life outside this house? That's not what I meant. Then what do you mean? I mean, you've been different lately. She crossed her arms. So, because I'm taking care of myself and actually having fun, that's a problem? I didn't want to start a fight, so I let it go. But it stuck with me. Then came the part that really didn't sit right. She brought Ethan to her house. She dropped it casually over dinner one evening. Ethan is going to start training me here at home. It'll be easier, plus I won't have to wait around for equipment at the gym. I frowned. Wait, Kier. Yeah, she said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. It makes sense, doesn't it? I took a sip of my drink. I don't know, Lila, bringing your personal trainer into our home? You don't think that's a little weird? She laughed. Oh my God, Noah, he's just a trainer. It's not a big deal. I didn't press the issue, but something about it nagged at me. The first session happened while I was at work. I only knew because when I got home, the living room looked different. The coffee table had been shoved against the wall, and one of my heavier dumbbells was lying in the middle of the floor. You worked out here today? I asked. Lila nodded, sipping from a massive water bottle. Yeah, it was great. Ethan says I'm making real progress. There it was again. Ethan says. But I let it slide. Then I had the chance to see it for myself. I worked from home a few times and watched their sessions from the kitchen, pretending to be busy on my laptop. Ethan was younger than I'd expected, mid-30s, tall, built like a damn model. Too charming. Too at ease. He cracked jokes, he laughed. A lot. And Lila? She was different around him. At first, it all seemed professional. Just a trainer helping his client. His hands would hover over her lower back or shoulders, guiding her posture. But it was the way she reacted that made my stomach twist. When he adjusted her squat form, placing his hands on her hips, she giggled. When he joked about her endurance, she playfully smacked his arm. Little things. But little things add up. Then, something happened that gave me a reason, an excuse to take action. A neighbor's house got broken into. Just the idea of someone watching our hole, waiting for the right moment to strike, put me on edge. It seemed like a good enough reason to take some extra precautions. So, for security reasons, or at least that's what I told myself, I decided to install some hidden cameras outside. I didn't tell Lila. There was no need, right? The next day, while she was out, I picked up a set of small, motion-activated cameras and set them up. One at the front door, another in the backyard. Nothing obvious. Just enough to keep an eye on things. For a few days, everything seemed normal. I'd check the footage now, and then, while going to the gym, coming home, running errands. The occasional package delivery. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then I saw Ethan. At first, it made sense. She was still training at home, so of course he'd be there. But something felt off. The sessions kept getting longer. What started as an hour stretched to an hour and a half. Then 2. Then 3. What the hell were they doing for that long? So, I started watching the footage more carefully. And then, one day, I saw something that made my blood run cold. I watched as Ethan left the house like usual, heading down the driveway. But then he stopped. He patted his pockets, turned around, and walked back toward the front door. Lila stood there, still watching as he walked away. But when he got closer, she hesitated for just a second before slipping inside. Moments later, she reappeared with something in her hand, probably something he had forgotten. She handed it over, and then, for a brief moment, they both just stood there. They glanced around, not absent-mindedly, not the way you do when you're lost in thought. No, this was deliberate. They were making sure no one was watching. Then she kissed him. It was quick, barely a second. But it happened. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. My stomach sank. My brain scrambled for a rational explanation, but there wasn't one. That wasn't just some friendly peck. It wasn't an accident. It was purposeful, intimate, familiar, like they had done it before, like it was a habit. Ethan didn't say a word. He just laughed. Lila turned around and walked back inside like nothing had happened. But everything had. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, that moment played over and over again in my head. That single, fleeting second that obliterated whatever trust one had left. By morning, I knew what I had to do. While Lila was out running errands, I took action. I went straight to an electronics store and bought more cameras. This time, they were going inside. I installed them carefully, making sure they were tucked away where no one would notice. One in the kitchen, another in the living room, and the last one, in the bedroom. The one place I didn't even want to think about. But I had to. Then, I waited. The very next day, Ethan showed up again. That evening, when I got home, I locked myself in my office and pulled up the footage. At first, everything seemed normal. He walked in, Lila greeted him, and they went straight to the couch. They sat close. Way too close. Lila was smiling, twirling a strand of hair between her fingers. Ethan leaned in, murmuring something. She laughed. That same laugh I used to love hearing. The one she barely gave me anymore. And then it happened. He kissed her. Not hesitant. Not uncertain. It was deliberate. Confident. Like this wasn't the first time. And she didn't pull away. She kissed him back. My stomach twisted into knots. My grip on my phone was so tight my fingers ached. Then she reached for him. He pulled her in, holding her close. They stayed like that for a while, kissing, wrapped up in each other, like it was second nature. Like it was routine. Then they got up, walked to the bedroom. I slammed my phone down so hard I thought I cracked the screen. My chest felt tight, my breath coming in heavy bursts. I had suspected it. I had feared it. But seeing it? Having undeniable proofs? It was like a knife straight to the heart. It wasn't a theory anymore. It was real. My wife was cheating on me. With her personal trainer. In our own house. I wasn't about to let this slide. I needed to catch them in the act. 2 days later, I took a day off work. Lila thought I was at the office. Instead, I sat in a coffee shop, my phone propped up against my cup, as locked on the live feed from the hidden cameras. My stomach was tight. My hands clenched the table. I waited. At exactly 1:30 p.m., Ethan showed up. Lila opened the door with a smile, and they kissed immediately. Not hesitant, not unsure. It was practiced, comfortable. Then, without wasting a second, they walked straight to the bedroom. That was all I needed. I grabbed my keys and left, my pulse pounding in my ears. I drove home, but instead of pulling into the driveway, I parked a few houses down. Let them think they were still safe. My breathing was steady, but my hands trembled as I walked to the front door. I unlocked it without a sound. The house was quiet, but I knew exactly where they were. Step by step, I moved down the hallway. Slow, controlled. The bedroom door was half open. I pushed it wider, and there they were. Lila, in her bed. With him. She gasped, yanking the sheets up over herself like that would somehow erase what I had just seen. Ethan scrambled upright, his face pale. His hands fumbled for his clothes in sheer panic. Lila just sat there, frozen, her eyes wide with shock. I took a step into the room, my voice low and steady. I leave for work, and this is what you do? I gestured at them. You screwing your trainer? In my house? In my bed? Lila stammered. Noah, I cut her off. Don't. Just don't. Ethan, half dressed, stuttered, looked, man, I stepped forward, fists clenched. Shut up. Get the hell out of my house. Now. He didn't wait. He snatched his shoes and bolted, practically tripping over himself as he ran. A second later, I heard the front door slam. Mila still sat there, gripping the sheets like they could somehow shield her from reality. From me. From what she had done. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Then she whispered, Nala, please. I shook my head. Save it. Pack your things. Get out. Tears welled up in her eyes. Noah, don't do this. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Don't do this? You did this. You threw every single way. She opened her mouth, probably searching for an excuse, but we both knew. There was nothing she could say. I turned away, my voice cold and final. Be gone by the time I get back. I walked out. Out of the room, out of the house. I didn't look back. The next morning, I didn't hesitate. I woke up, got dressed, and went straight to a lawyer. There was nothing left to talk about. Nothing to save. Lila wasn't getting a second chance. I made sure she got nothing. No house. No car. No savings. She had cheated in my house and my bed. She didn't deserve a damn thing. And Ethan? Oh, he didn't get off easy either. Word spread fast. His clients? Gone. His reputation? Destroyed. One by one, people canceled their sessions with him. A week later, the gym fired him. I heard he was struggling to find work after that. Did I care? Not one bit. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. Lila didn't even fight it. What could she say? She had no leg to stand on. She moved into a tiny apartment on the other side of town. Alone. I thought that was the end of it. Until one evening, she showed up at my house. I pulled open the door, and there she was, nothing like the confident, carefree woman I once knew. Her eyes were swollen and red, her hair a mess, and her hands shook as she gripped her purse. Noah, please, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Can we talk? I didn't answer. Just stood there, staring at her. Her voice wavered, brittle and unsteady. I made a mistake, she choked out as tears spilled down her face. I was stupid. I was selfish. Please, Noah, I still love you. I let out a slow breath, my expression unreadable. Leave. Her face crumpled, pain flashing across her features. Noah, please, just give me a chance. I shook my head. Don't ever come back. For a moment, she didn't move, just stood there, breath shaky, eyes pleading. But eventually, she turned and walked away. I didn't bother watching her go. I simply closed the door, locked it, and stood there in the silence. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I looked ahead, ready for whatever came next. Thank you for watching.